do what God tells us to do. And so you all need to hear this information. It's my job to give it, and we let God do the rest. Before I get started, I just want to have another brief word of prayer before I get started. Father, which art in heaven, Lord, thank you so much, Lord, for your kindness. Thank you, dear Father, for making it available, Lord, that we could be in this place. And thank you, Father, for the strength. For, Lord, we have none of ourselves. Lord, we cannot even breathe on ourselves without you making that inspiration for us. Bless us to this end. In Christ's name, amen. As I get started this evening, I'm just going to share with you, and I'm going to talk about HER2 breast cancer. Cancer has been a part of my life for a long time, for many years. And I have done a lot of research, a lot of study into it. I've committed myself to know as much as I can about cancer. Cancer is one of the most frightening conditions you can ever encounter. I mean, it's like, when you get that news, it says no hope. There's no cure. But if it's any consolation, there's no cure for nothing in the medical system. But they tell you there's no cure for cancer. There's no cure for a common cold. There's no cure for diabetes. There's no cure for arthritis. All they do is manage the problem till you die, like a coach, and that's really what they do. But they subliminally make suggestions as if they can help you. But in reality, they're helping you to die. They don't value life the way you do. Life is to say, I gave them a little more time. But the time may be of a poor quality that it's not worth the time being extended. And this is a sad state of things. Even God's people are caught up in that delusion that when medical people make a statement, these are well-educated men and women that know what they're doing. But most of their practice is experimental. They have no concept of the outcome. They're just hoping. But God has a much better plan for his people. But God's people got to get on board with his plan. And they won't suffer the delusions of the world. There are many different types of breast cancer. It really is. And like I said, I'm going to give you as much as I can give you during the 7 days. But if you're serious about wanting to know what to do about disease, you don't need to miss a program. And there are people going to miss this program tonight. They're not going to get it because my time is limited. I travel all over the world. As you know, Pastor Maurice too. But I'm telling you, I am in super demand. Right now, I'm on a venture to travel to all the Atlantic, Pacific islands. I'm setting up sanitariums and training schools. I just left Curacao, just set up a clinic in Curacao. I have missionaries there training right now, training them how to operate a small clinic. Curacao is right off the coast of South America, not far from Trinidad. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I just opened up a school, a medical missionary college in Trinidad, Tobago. I just left Tobago. The college is there in Tobago. It's a small college, about 25 rooms, but it was donated to us to open up a small medical missionary college to train medical missionary physicians. I was also given 10 acres in the rainforest to open up a little outpost. So this is happening. I'll leave in January. Well, I'll leave here and I'll go to the Fiji Islands, doing the same thing in the Fiji Islands. I'll leave the Fiji Islands, and then I'll come back. I'll go to Barbados, and I'll do the same thing in Barbados. I'm going to visit all out. Borneo, I went to Borneo to do the same thing. Borneo is just right close to, you have Aruba, you have Curacao, and you have Borneo, 3 islands right there off the coast of South America. But things are happening. It really is. People are turning over their resources, their property, because they are sick and tired of what's happening to their family members. And so God is doing some marvelous things, and I questioned him. I said, why are you waiting my old age to get me to do this? I mean, I'm ready to quit. But he engaging me, speeding me back up, giving me some more vitality to be able to do it. So I'm afraid not to do it. I don't fear nobody but him, so I'm going to do it until I drop, you know. But it's a wonderful experience. It really is, what is taking place. And I'm trying to educate people about disease. Disease is not what you think it is. Disease to most people is a combination of symptoms and pain and gasping for your last breath and fever and all kind of horrible things happening in your life that is going crazy. But that's not disease. A headache is not a disease. Cancer is not a disease. Diabetes is not a disease. Arthritis, high blood, those are not diseases. Those are symptoms of a disease. And so we find ourselves fighting the symptoms, trying to stop the symptoms, but the symptoms are nothing but a curative reaction that your body's trying to produce to make us aware and to reverse the problem. Allopathic medicine is designed to stop the symptoms. And people are just carried away with it, their ability to stop the symptoms. They can make, if you're in pain, they can make you stop hurting. And he said, wow, doctor, you are really smart. You went to college, so you know how to stop pain, you know how to do all that, and you really think he's a brilliant. But let me tell you one thing. A wino, a dope addict know how to make you feel good. And they ain't been to no college, all right? So making you feel good is not a criteria of knowledge. It's just a matter of giving you some concoction that benumb the sensitive nerves, and you think they're brilliant people. They're not. God's people are not inferior to scientific knowledge, but God has established his people on the highest image so that they can go to the very pinnacle of knowledge and wisdom. We only use a small percentage of our mental faculties in the first place. If we use 25% of our mental faculties, we would be genius, but we don't. So let's talk about HER2 breast cancer. I want you to keep in mind there are many different types of breast cancer. All right, that's not just one. There are many different types. Every type has to be treated different. You have to have a fundamental knowledge of every type to be able to treat it. And that's where the difficulties come, because you have a thought to treat them all the same way. Don't work that way. One of them may be driven by a particular chemical in the body. Another one may be driven by a hormone. And so either way, you have to know what you're dealing with. Anytime you're dealing with diseases, you have to have a fundamental knowledge of the function of the human body. You have to have a fundamental knowledge of chemistry, food chemistry, digestibility of food, assimilation of food, elimination of toxicity in the system. You have to know all of those things. And this is what discourages people, because you have to know so much. And most people don't like to work. They don't like to tax their mind. They're satisfied with just getting just enough getting by. That won't do it. If you're going to ever succeed, it's going to take every resource that you have. It's going to push you to the fore end, to study, to research, to pray, to come to a conclusion. And stop accepting men that have degrees as knowledgeable people. Knowledge is from the Lord. All wisdom comes from God. And so God is the source of wisdom. It's not man. And God give it to whoever he please. So now with that in mind, we're going to talk a little bit about HER2 positive breast cancer. There's a HER2 negative and there's a HER2 positive. That's just one. HER2 positive breast cancer is a breast cancer that tests positive for a protein called human epidermal growth factor. So it's a protein that is built in a woman's body that stimulate and promote the growth of cancer cells. And so now that we understand that, we have to understand how can we stop this promotion of abnormal HER2 cells and what is causing this to develop. And our research continue. Genes contain a recipe for various proteins A cell needs to stay healthy and function normally. So all your cells are genetically and biologically programmed. They're programmed to maintain health or disease. A healthy cell can become deprogrammed and can start working abnormally in the body. Or it can maintain optimal health in the body. Now, anytime you operating in a normal health environment, normal is not the best. It's good, but optimal is what you want. Optimal health is what we should seek for. Anytime you work in normal, there is an opportunity for an abnormal condition. All right? Even though you're doing everything 90% right, but there's a degree there that it can go abnormal. And that's why we have to always search and see how can we keep it at an optimal level. Some genes and the protein they make can influence how a breast cancer behaves and how it might respond to a specific treatment. And that's a generic way of putting it. So some genes and their protein can determine how that cell or those genes operate and function, depending on that particular gene. HER2, human epidermal growth factor, is one such gene that can play a role in the development of cancer, breast cancer. Your pathology report should include information about HER2 status, which tell you whether or not HER2 is playing a role in the cancer. So anytime you hear of somebody, a woman, and it could be a man too, because men have breast cancer, but anytime you get a diagnosis that you have breast cancer, you want to know what type of breast cancer it is, okay? Don't think they're all the same. You want to know what type it is. And you have to ask doctors questions. The best way to do, write down your questions, because you're so intimidated when you see them that you're so frightened that you forget to ask. Write your questions down and ask them, what type of breast cancer do I have? And he says HER2. Then ask him to explain it. If he can't explain it, then you need to get up and get out of there. HER2 genes make HER2 proteins. HER2 proteins are receptacles on the breast cells. Now, you know what a receptacle is, right? This is like a receptacle. See, it's just with a mouth just ready, and it's receiving something. It's receiving something. And so it's sitting there with its mouth just smacking, it's ready to eat, and it's receiving a protein. That's a receptacle. And so HER2 is a cell that has a lot of receptacles, and they want a particular protein. Normally, HER2 receptacles help control how a healthy breast cell grow, divide, and repair itself. Under normal circumstance, that is true. But if something can alter that and change that, then those cells would not repair and correct their problems. Cancer cells do not die. I pause a moment. I want you to think about that. They don't die. Healthy cells replicate. Cancer cells don't die. They just keep on going. They keep on growing, keep on multiplying. That's why you end up with a big mass called a tumor. They just pile up on top of each other. It can take 10, 20 years for a 5-centimeter tumor to grow that to 5 centimeters. So it takes many years for a tumor to develop. It just don't happen. You just don't go to the doctor and say, hey, you got cancer. You got a tumor inside of you. But doctor, I was feeling good last year. What happened? It's been there for many years, slowly developing. Remember, they don't die. Now you think about that. Where do it get its foundation that you won't surely die? It's the devil. To me, cancer is the epitome of the personality of the devil. What cancer want to do is destroy the body. It will feed off the body to satisfy its need for protein and toxicity and whatever it needs to multiply. And it will not die. It just keep multiplying. Healthy cells die. Did you know that? They die. And when they die, they replicate. All right? That means that when they die, they leave behind genetic material behind for the next generation. This system of healthy cells dying really allows the body to correct itself. If there's a defect in a cell, through replication, it can fix it. But if it never dies, it can never be fixed. That's the way it is with sin. If you can't die, you can't be fixed. But this whole system of healthy cells dying is a good thing because it allows the body to recognize a defect, fix it so that the second generation will not feel the effect of the defect. But if it never died, it would keep on what? Keep on going. Okay, so just remember that. Now, if you don't believe that, just Google it in anywhere you go and say, do cancer cells die? You know, the devil knew what he was talking about. You won't surely die. But you better die if you expect to what? Live again. In about 25% of breast cancer, the HER2 genes does not correctly and make, does not work correctly and make too many copies of itself, known as HER2 gene amplification. So in about 25% of the breast cancer, HER2 genes does not work correctly. They make too many copies. The more copies it makes, the more HER2 genes it's going to make. Now we're looking at the HER2 cells. Over here to my left, that big cell is a normal cell. It has about 4 HER2 receptacles on it. Okay, about 4. That's a normal cell. But now, take a look at this one here. Now, over here to my right, this HER2 cell has a lot of what? Receptacles. That means with more receptacles, it's going to what? Take in more protein. And the more protein it eats, the more receptacles it's going to make. And the more receptacles it's going to make, the greater its chances it can become cancer, because cancer is a rapid developing cell. This rapid developing cells allow abnormal conditions to develop. What we want to do is to lessen or to reduce the amount of those receptacles, because the more receptacles you have, the more you're going to have problem with HER2 cancer. Do we understand that? We want to reduce those receptacles. If we can bring those receptacles down to a few, then it's less chances that that person will have a problem with HER2 breast cancer. All these extra HER2 genes tell breast cancer to make too many HER2 receptacles. Okay, with all these extra genes, it tells the breast cancer, keep making copies of the HER2 receptacles. This overexpression causes too much to grow too fast, make breast cells grow and divide in an uncontrollable way. So what's making these breast cells keep growing so fast? Too many receptacles. Too many HER2 receptacles. Because with too many HER2 receptacles, you're going to have too many protein feeding those HER2 receptacles. For every receptacle, you got to have protein. With this, an abundance of consumption of protein in the HER2 cells makes it easy to feed those cells and make those cells multiply and grow real fast. The rapid growth of cells is the identity that associated with cancer. It eats itself. I mean, I'm going to tell you something, you know, and I must go through it. People teach that sugar causes cancer. Yeah, everybody believes that. Do you know everything you eat is converted to sugar? Yes. Everything. Protein, amino acids, that's a sugar. Fats, glycerin, that's a sugar. And carbohydrates, that's a sugar. Your body operates on sugar. Starch is sugar, okay? So now, it's not sugar per se that causes cancer. Sugar processed sugar weakens your immune system and lessen the effectiveness of your immune system to protect you. So that's the danger of it. This is processed sugar. There's no way grapes or carrots or potatoes going to cause cancer. It won't do it because it's a complex in nature. Those are complex carbohydrates. Complex means it has many elements. But the simple sugars, the simple carbohydrates, they lack the components it needs so that the body can stay balanced. So now you're operating in a nutritional deficient body that do not have the nutrients it needs to maintain optimal health. It can only maintain at a certain level because you don't have a certain nutrients are lacking, okay? So keep in mind, sugar don't cause cancer, but it can weaken your immune system. So how can you reduce that protein? As the brother asked, all the body gonna do is eat itself. It'll attack organs and tissue. It will convert toxin in the system for energy. It's gonna find a way.
So the only way to actually stop it is you've got to go back to the issue of reducing HER2 breast cells.
Right. And you got to understand what is HER2. Every breast cancer is different. Every one is different. This one here is a difficult one to understand. Food do play a major role, and we're going to take a look at it. People prepare fruits and vegetables that can help prevent breast cancer. Fresh fruits and vegetables may help prevent breast cancer. Breast cancer can start in different places, grow in different ways, and require different kinds of treatments. Okay? So food can help. What food is doing is giving you a balanced supply of nutrients. And that can help. But cancer can start in many ways, and it may require many different types of approach.
Your food is the complex carbohydrates.
That's right.
No processed.
No, because simple carbohydrates lack certain nutrients. They've extracted, processed certain nutrients out. You may need those nutrients for your central nervous system, for your bone development, for muscle strength. If it's extracted, something's going to be weak. If your muscles are weak because they do not have the phosphorus or do not have the calcium or the magnesium, then that would become a weak part in your body. Then cancer would set up shop in that area. Then it would cancer the muscles. Okay? So you cannot do that. You must give the body what it needs to prevent that from taking place. Just as particular types of cancer respond better to certain treatment, some cancer respond well to specific food or specified foods. And that's true because it may be one type of cancer that may be needing a certain mineral or vitamin in that food, yes. Mm-hmm. Right. That is so true. I definitely believe that. But now, what type of sugar? You see what I'm saying? See, I'm just trying to encourage y'all to go a little deeper with it. Okay, now she didn't say just sugar found in grapes, sugar found in carrots, sugars found in yams, rice, whole grain rice. Do that cause cancer? No, it don't. That's sugar. Rice is sugar. Potato is sugar. You can make a big bowl of potatoes, you got a big bowl of sugar. And it's a harder sugar to digest because it's complex. Simple sugars don't have to be digested. They just go right to the bloodstream. So I'm saying you're absolutely right. But keep in mind, everything you eat is sugar. Now, that don't give you liberty to go eat simple sugars because the simple sugars going to weaken your immune system and make it more easier for your body to come down with cancer, and it would make it almost impossible for you to survive once you get cancer. But what do you do when you get cancer? You start eating plenty of raw foods, drinking plenty of vegetable juices. That's all sugar. Is that weakening your system? No, it's not. It's giving your body what you should have been getting all the time. You have robbed your body of those essential elements, so now your body's in a serious deficiency, and now you got a problem, okay? So I'm not an advocate of using simple sugars, but I'm a chemist. I understand food chemistry, body chemistry, and so when I hear people say sugar causes cancer, I know they don't know what they're talking about. Technically, they're right. It causes a weak immune system, which make it easy for cancer to set up shop. Okay, it's kind of like a person mentally disarranged, schizophrenic. You say, well, what's wrong with that person? He has a chemical imbalance. You ever heard that, right? Bipolar, schizophrenic, chemical imbalance. What is a chemical imbalance? A nutritional imbalance. Them people been eating junk food so much that they're lacking essential nutrients. That's the chemical imbalance. So those cells that maintain their mental stability is starving because they don't have those essential elements, so they're not functioning right. They're not functioning right at all. But if we can give them the elements they need, then those cells can be repaired. Cells have a lifespan. Every organ in your body live and die at a set period. All right? Now, what's the oldest person in this room? We have anybody here 50 years old? I'm sure we do. Okay. Let me tell you something, my dear sister. You're not 50 years old. You may be 6, not quite 7 years old, medically. Okay? There's no cell in your body live past 7 years. There's no organ live past 7 years, medically and biologically. Every organ, every cell live a certain time and they die. Your heart, give it about 35 days. Give your lungs about 45 days. Give your red blood cells 120 days. Give your body less than 7 years. In 7 years, your body has replaced every cell, every organ in your whole system, all right, has replaced it. You say, well, why in the world I still got this bad knee and I still got these bad kidneys? Because the great architect, he so engineered the human body, as one cell die, another cell take its place, and your heart never miss a beat. That's the marvel of what God can do. And that's the mystery that man will never understand. But science knows that every organ in the body die and replicate. When they die, they leave genetic blueprint behind for the offspring cells to follow. That's called daughter cells and parent cell. When the parent cell die, they go through mitosis. Those cells split. One cell split and become 2 cells. When those cells become 2 cells, that mother cell is dead. It's gone. It produced 2 daughter cells. And the 2 daughter cells produce 4 daughter cells. Until finally, it produced 12 daughter cells. Let me give you another biblical quiz. Once the cells produce 12 daughter cells, then the system starts all over again. In the Bible, God had 12 men, right? Out of 12, how many lived? How many lived out of 12? Except what? And that's John, right? A martyr's death. He eventually died, but a martyr's death, right? Do you know that once the body produced 12 daughter cells, all die but one? And it goes back to the mother cell again. Once it produced 12 cells, all them daughter cells, 11 of those daughter cells die, leave one behind, become the mother cell, and the mother cell start replicating again. Produce 12 more daughter cells. 11 of them gonna die. Only one survive. But in cancer cell, all 12 live. They all live. They don't die.
So truly, Hilda, we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
So when you put that together, then that means that when you look at from a biblical standpoint, we get down to 12 times 12, and we get down to last generation. all are gonna die, but the 140,000 will live.
Amen.
For the final issue of the recovering of the body from the cancer of sin.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
So, now medical, they know that all 12 died in the healthy cells. That's what messed David up. You know that? David's feet was almost slipped until he walked into the sanctuary. He saw the prosperity of the wicked, didn't he? And he almost fell. I mean, he said, they don't suffer like we do. They prosper. They seem to live and just, ain't that something? But seemed like everything bad happened to the righteous. It just seemed like the more holy they get, it seemed like that's it. You know you're going to die. God is merciful. I'm telling you, the reason I believe God let the wicked live so long, he want to give them a chance. Amen. And the reason why the righteous that seem to just pass on away, they've made their final march. You know, God has put his seal on them. It's all right. So anyway, the following foods can play a role in health or diet in general. And they may also help prevent the development of the progression of breast cancer. A study of 91,000 women found that following a diet comprised mainly of plants could cut the risk of developing breast cancer by 15%. Along with other benefits, fruits and vegetables are rich in flavonols and carotenols, and which appear to have various medical benefits. Studies have suggested that the following foods may help prevent breast cancer: dark, green, leafy vegetables such as kale and broccoli. Let me ask you something. Why do you think that these vegetables, green leafy vegetables, have components in them that can actually protect you against cancer? Why do you think that? What is the cause? What is the reason why it can help? Well, what is the chlorophyll? I like that. I love it. Now, give me a biblical reason why that worked. But you're absolutely right. I want a biblical reason, because we're not just nutritionists and doctors here. We are gospel medical missionaries. But you are so absolutely right. It is the blood of the plant. Let me ask you something. The life of the flesh is where? Oh, so that means the quality of life is where? In the blood. So bad blood means bad quality of life. Good blood, good quality of life. Now, why did God give us vegetables in the first place? So we can have a good quality of life. Right? And so was the vegetables to do with a sick, dying body. It was to prolong our life. Right? It's prolong our life. And how do it prolong our life? By giving us a blood transfusion. All right? We're getting a plant-based blood transfusion because the quality of life is in the blood. So now, how many sins is it in the world? You can't count them, right? Oh, you can. The most ignorant person can count them, just one. Just one. How many symptoms of sin in the world? You can't count it, right? I tell people, they said, well, old folks said, boy, I'm going to beat lying out of you. I said, you can beat him to death. He's still going to wake up and lie some more. Beating ain't going to cure nobody from lying. All right? And so the problem is there was one solution for sin. What was that? It's the blood of Christ. Right. There's one solution for sin, and there's one solution for sickness. It's the blood of the plants and the blood of Christ. It makes it so easy. Okay, so now all we need to do is to follow the prescription of God has given us the leaves of the tree for the healing of the nation. Researchers have associated beta-carotene, which occur naturally in vegetables such as carrots, as a low risk of breast cancer. That's a starchy vegetable there, a root vegetable. So, and it can help the body. and it helps it through the immune system. There are other things such as dietary fibers, antioxidants, that also can help protect against breast cancer. Avocados are a natural source of fats. We need fats because fat helps us in transmission of nerve signals throughout the body. And we got olives, we got avocados, we got seeds and nuts. And it's the most wholesome state. They contain polyunsaturated fats called omega-3. That helps with the central nervous system. And it also can help protect us against cancer. Soy is another misunderstood plant. And people are teaching that soy can cause breast cancer. It's another false idea. Soy don't cause no breast cancer. Overindulgence causes breast cancer. All right, moderation will not cause that. Now, is honey bad? But the Bible said a little honey make you what? Vomit. I mean, it said honey. Too much honey make you vomit. Right. It's temperance. So now, too much soy will cause breast cancer. But if you eat it in moderation, it won't do it. But because people are advocating that soy causes breast cancer, they're not talking about moderation. We grab it, and we should know better. We grab it and say, well, hey, I ain't going to eat no more soy because that causes breast cancer. Soy can actually protect you against breast cancer when it's eaten in moderation. Soy is a healthy food source that may help reduce the risk of breast cancer. It is a plant-based product that is rich in protein, healthy fats, and vitamins and minerals. It is very low in carbohydrates. It contains antioxidants. It's what the body needs, but you cannot have too much of it. And there's been a lot of studies and research have found that people live in Asia. These people, women in particular, have a low level of breast cancer because they consume a lot of soy and soy-based foods. And it have lowered their risk in dealing with breast cancer. And so there are many ways we can get soy, from tofu to tempeh to soy milk, soy nuts, and so on. If you're going to eat one of these foods every day, you're going to eat too much of it. You're going to eat too much. If a man drink 4 glasses of soy milk, get some tofu and some veggie milk, he'll be impotent by the time he gets 55 years old. Okay? You're going to be impotent. That may not be a big deal, but you can't speak for yourself. You know, if you're married, that could be a real big deal. All right? So I'm saying that, but you have no idea. You put, well, if you married, that is no longer your body. That's your wife's body. 4 glasses of soy milk. Eat some soy meat and some tofu. If you're eating that almost every day, you're going to be impotent by the time you get 50-some years old. And it's because that the soy is estrogenic. It's phyto means plant-based estrogen. The estrogen is a weak estrogen. But if you eat too much of it, weakness can become strong. A woman has 1% testosterone in her body. A man has 10% testosterone. A man has 1% estrogen in his body, but 10% testosterone. If that man is consuming too many plant-based estrogen foods, it's going to elevate his estrogenic level in his body. And as it go up 3%, 4%, 5% estrogen, guess what it do to that man's body? It transforms his body. He lose his muscle mass. He get a big old belly, and all the muscles he used to have when he was young, they ain't there no more. They faded away, and it's just soft, flab tissue now. You touch him, he feels just like a woman. Soft. He don't have those muscles. What happened to those muscles when you was a teenager? You lost them. You think the aging process did that. Age ain't never took away no muscles. You look at some of the people over in Asia, they walking around 80 and 90 years old. They walking over sacks of corn and everything on their back. They still got muscles. Okay? And it's because if you don't use them, you're going to lose them. All right? Anytime a man builds more body fat than muscle mass, he is being transformed. Whether he know it or not, he don't have to let that happen. Yes.
I read that if a man drink too much soy, he too much tofu,
Mm-hmm.
it can transform that man into a female.
Not mentally. It won't make him homosexual. Physically, it will. He become weak.
Well,
He don't have the stamina as a man would have. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
well, I read that it can cause him to grow breasts like a female.
Yeah.
Right.
But breasts don't make him think like a woman. A lot of men got breasts. A man can have breast milk. You know, he can have a gland on his pituitary gland, and it can make a man produce milk just like a woman. Okay, so yes, a man can grow breasts, but it won't change him psychologically.
But it won't grow exponentially like as a woman, but he will feel like he has it.
Yeah, he'll have breasts.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Because a lot of teenagers are coming down with it.
right.
They're teenage boys, males.
Yep.
I found them out when I was pressing.
They would do it. And a lot of this genetically altered food is causing a lot of that. So some people question whether soy might increase the risk of breast cancer because it contains estrogenic properties in them. But it's a mild form of estrogen. However, the author of the 2016 review noted that estrogen is not the same as found in soy versus in animal food or dairy food. It's not the same. It's a different type of soy. Soy is a plant-based estrogen that is much weaker and much milder than animal-based estrogen. Now, here's some food that we should avoid. We definitely need to eliminate alcohol. I should have cut this thing off. Excuse me. No, I shouldn't have left this on. People call me from every time zone in the world. Let's get this thing off. I got it off. Okay, so we need to really avoid alcohol, sugar, fats, and animal meat, processed food, because that can definitely increase our estrogenic level. Once again, sugar. Once again, this is processed sugar, so I'm not going to spend much time on that for the sake of time tonight. But what I'm going to explain now is the effect of estrogen in the body. There are 3 different types of estrogen. Estrol is metabolic waste produced by estradiol metabolism that can still have some effect upon a limited number of estrogen receptacles. It is formed in the liver and is 8% as potent as estrol and 14% as potent as estrone. 3 different types of estrogen. Now let's take a look at them. So estrol, we found that in carrots, soy, and alfalfa. That's all plant-based estrogen. And now the estradiol, the ones in the green, they're produced by the ovaries. It's going to be the strongest estrogen. Those other soy, carrots, and alfalfa is a mild estrogen. So when we eat soy, carrots, and alfalfa, or women do, it goes to their ovaries and to their body fat, and then it will block the strong estrogen that can cause cancer to grow. That's estradiol. Let me ask you something to see if I can make it look clearer. Estradiol is made by the ovaries. That is what makes a woman grow a baby. All right? That baby comes from 1 drop of blood, 1 cell, and then all of a sudden they make a living human being. Estradiol does that, the one in the green. But the estrol cannot do that. Carrots, alfalfa, soy cannot make a baby grow. But if you take in small amount of estrogen, estrol, carrots, alfalfa, soy, it can block the strong estrogen that can make cells grow real fast. So really what this tells me then, that if a person have breast cancer, I need to give them a small amount of these foods because it can slow down the replication of those cancer cells that need estrogen to make them grow. Do we understand what I'm talking about? Are you sure you know what I'm talking about, right? The estradiol up there at the top, let me go back through it again. Okay, up here at the top, estradiol in the green, that is produced by the ovaries. That's what make a woman, you know, every time she ovulates for her menstrual cycle and so on, and make her also be able to get pregnant. That estrogen makes cells grow fast. But carrot juice, alfalfa, and soy, estrol, it's a real mild estrogen. It cannot do that. So once you take in those foods, it blocks the strong estrogen that can cause cancer cells to grow. It blocks it. Do you understand that now, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. But if you're consuming too much soy, it goes into the breast receptacles. The receptacles, the more receptacles you have, the more too much soy going to collect in the breast. You're getting too much, not a small amount. Too much going to produce too many receptacles. Now, when that happens, it can cause cancer cells to grow. And here we go here. It's going in. Now you see what's happening, right? You see the estradiol is uniting with the mild estrogen in the cells. It's uniting. That's too much estrogen. So that small amount, that weak amount of estrogen is uniting now with that real strong estrogen, producing too much estrogen in the body. And that's what causes cancer to grow. And the way we have to do that is reduce the mild estrogen and the strong estrogen, reduce it to a minimum. Do you know how we stop cancer? A woman that has breast cancer stimulated by estrogen, you know how we stop that? We force her into menopause. Are you with me with that? The way we can stop it, the cancer cells from feeding off of estrogen, we force the woman into menopause. Haven't you ever heard that when a woman has fibroids and she's 45, 50 years old, and they say, well, if you can hold off, they'll shrink on their own. Have you ever heard that? They do. They'll shrink on their own. And so you don't have to go get them cut out. They'll shrink because the estrogen from those ovaries will start dropping. She will no longer produce a high level of estrogen because her ovaries can't produce a high level. And the more she's coming into menopause. Are you with me? Have you ever heard of a woman getting pregnant going through the chain of life? How did that happen? Well, she's going into perimenopause. That's 6 months without a monthly period. And then all of a sudden she have a real strong hot flash. She's sweating and everything, and her body's going through an inflammatory reaction, and it's beating up those ovaries that produce some estrogen. And the ovaries make one effort and produce a lot of estrogen. And the man and woman came together at the right time. She get pregnant going through the change of life. Okay. That can happen, all right? And it does happen, all right? Hot flashes, anxiety attacks is the body trying to make more estrogen. It's trying to make those ovaries do what it cannot do. It will take body fat and make the body fat produce estrogen. It will find chemicals in food and toxins to make it produce estrogen. And if it can do it at the right time, at the right moment, a woman can get pregnant. So it's the same here. If you eat too much soy, too much alfalfa, too much carrot juice can cause cancer if you have a high level of estrogen in your body. Are you with me? It's a mild estrogen that should prevent cancer, but if you already have too much estrogen in your system, then you have to really cut it drastically till you're able to reduce that estrogen in the system. This is some of the most difficult things in the world for people to understand. That's why we had to give them plenty of green vegetables in a raw state, plenty of it, because it will reduce the amount of estrogen in a woman's body. Okay, so I'm going to try to get as far as I can in this. I may not be able to finish it, but the one I really want to talk to is about figs. Fig poultices are easy to make and use. They are great for a number of conditions, including abscess, gum, teeth, boils, warts, ulcers, and so on, abnormal growth, scar tissue. It's very good. Okay, we know figs from the book in the Bible, poultice of figs was given to Hezekiah. When Hezekiah was sick, the prophet of God brought him the message that he should die. Now notice that Hezekiah was a wealthy man. He had all the resources in the world. He had the advantage of all the medical systems, right? What did they tell Hezekiah? Incurable, right? Did he give up? No, he said, I'm going to seek God. He said, I know there's a God. I'm going to seek God. And so he was patiently waiting for God to send a message. He'd been praying. He said, God, you're going to answer my prayer. And when he got news that Isaiah was coming to see him, guess what he said? Praise God. Finally, God's going to answer my prayer. Wouldn't you have said that? Yeah, he did. He was anxious because he said, now, I know God's going to answer this prayer now. But when Isaiah came to him, what did Isaiah tell him? Set your house in order, for you shall die and not live. What would you have done if that had been you? The medical system has given up on you, and it looked like God has given up, right? What you would have done? You have no hope now. Huh? Put it in order. Hezekiah wasn't ready to die. He wasn't ready to die. He got in his bed. He shut himself away from the world and turned his face toward the wall. And he started reminiscing the good things he had done. He said, God, I fed the poor. I've clothed them. God, I don't deserve this, what's happening to me. That's what a natural man would do. And after he laid all his good points out to God and it availed him nothing, he did the most common thing. He broke down and started crying, didn't he? And his tears was able to do what his good points could not do. Isaiah was on his way out the palace. God said, hold up a minute. Go back up there. I got my little boy up there. He's troubled. Go up there and tell him I'm going to extend his life. Now, Isaiah could have been like Jonah, couldn't he? You know the problem with Jonah? Jonah thought he was smarter than God. He said, God, you're too merciful. You know you're not going to kill all them Ninevites. I'm going to go down there and going to tell them that, and you're going to change your mind because you're so merciful. I'm going to look like a false prophet. I am not going to do it. But not so with Isaiah. Isaiah turned around, just gave the man a death sentence, went back up there looking like he had a false message, and said, look, God's going to give you 15 years. And so the reason why God reversed the death sentence on Hezekiah is because Hezekiah knew that he had a God that can be touched with the feelings of his infirmities. All right? And so when you can't do nothing else, just break down and cry. It worked for him. Now let's see if we can go over a little of these figs. I may cover this another night because I'm not going to get through with this tonight. But instead, he was given direction to make a poultice of fig and lay it upon the part affected. This was done, and Hezekiah was restored to health. Okay, now, do you believe this remedy worked? Have you tried it on a breast cancer one? All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you ever met anybody with cancer? You don't know nobody with cancer? Did you think about using the little figs? Yeah. But I'm not picking on you. I'm just using you to get a point over. You see, there's no difference between a boil and cancer. Are you following me? Let's analyze what is a boil. It's an abnormal growth, right? Cancer is an abnormal growth, all right? It's a lump. Boil is a lump. So what makes a boil? A buildup of toxic waste in the system. What brings about cancer? Buildup of toxic waste and chemicals in the body. So a boil has a kinship to cancer. It is second or third cousin to cancer. It is a benign. It's not cancer. It's benign. That means it's a cousin. So Hezekiah did not have the kind of boil your husband had on his head. Okay, well, he didn't have the type you had. But it was a boil because it had kinship. If you had that little boil on you, if it was in your kidney, then you would have kidney cysts. If you had in your ovaries, it would be ovarian cysts. If you had in your liver, it would be liver cysts. Now, it's just not a little lump on your shoulder. It's a big-time problem, right? So I said all that to say, we believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We believe he's coming back. But do we believe in his simple remedies? Depends. Depends.
I find today that what I find today is that under desperation, many Adventists who say they believe in simple remedies want the remedy, I find under certain circumstances and people being desperate that many Adventists will want a simple remedy, and then they still want the best of both. They want the doctor's remedy too.
Yeah.
They want the best of both worlds because they believe that the simple remedies is taking too long.
Right.
And they want almost instant healing, even though their disease can come instantly overnight.
Amen.
But
Okay.
you can comment.
Now, you made a good point there, that instantaneous perfection. Okay, now look, how long did it take for us to get sick? A lifetime, right? A lifetime. So how do you get well in the first place? You must recognize that what you did has brought on this death process, right? Once you recognize that and you say, I'm sorry, then God justified you. You're no longer counted guilty for destroying your body. He set you free from it. Your body ain't perfect, right? But it's not guilty anymore either. You still got aches and pains, but you're not guilty. You're not sick anymore, but you're not perfect. Then what is the next step? When you are justified, what's the next step after justification? Okay, so now, that's right. Now, how long do you must be obedient and show your appreciation for your justification? Lifetime. So now, don't look for instantaneous perfection. Look for that you are justified, and now you're being sanctified, and at the end of your course of life, you will what? Glorify God. All right? So if you say God healed you, you're going to have the pain. You're going to have the nausea, the weakness. That is because you're going through the sanctification process. You stay with it. Don't let that deter you and say, well, I don't know if I'm healed. No. Figs are rich in germ-killing active latex and can draw out toxins and stimulate the lymphatic system. They are cited in the biblical books of Isaiah with Hezekiah, and we talked about that. And I've experienced many times I put figs on a lump, and it would eventually take the lump away. But you need to know how to apply it. Make sure you put that lump large and thick and warm if you really wanted to see the effects of it. Now let's look at some health benefits. Figs has been popular around the world for many centuries. They are both tasty and nutritious, and they can help in a lot of medical conditions such as diabetes and eczema. Now, when I say figs is good for diabetes, I'm talking about the fig leaves. The fig leaves have insulin, natural insulin in them. So you get the leaves and you make a tea out of it, and it works as a natural insulin. Figs also are very good to bring down your cholesterol and help control your blood sugar. Figs are also good for osteoporosis, that means bone weakness. Figs are good antioxidants. It helps to reduce cellular damage and remove free radicals out of the system. Figs are very high in vitamin A, C, K, B, potassium, magnesium, zinc, copper, manganese, and iron. So it has a lot of wonderful minerals in it. Once again, use the leaves or the twigs on a fig tree, fantastic for diabetic condition. Figs are also very good for different type of skin problems. It's good for vertigo, psoriasis, all types of skin problems. It's very good for it. You can take the figs, a green fig, and squeeze out the white milk in it and put it on a wart. And keep doing that, and it will remove the wart on the body. These are some of the most powerful agents in the figs that we overlook. If you want to get Botox, do you know by making a fig mask and applying it on your skin real warm, it serves as a natural Botox. It would take the wrinkles and sagging jaws right out of your face. Figs and also can help your hair to grow because of the natural zinc and vitamins found in the fig. And those are just some of the benefits. Before I close, I'm going to show you what the latest research is saying about figs. But take a look at this right here. I talked with a dear brother today. It burdened my heart. He's talking about his sister. Now, this is a breast cancer right here. And in a woman's breast, those mammary glands are full of fat glands. Fat is having a natural attraction for cancer cells, and that's why it happens a lot in a woman's breast. She can develop a lump in her breast, and it's usually happening in the upper quadrant of the breast. Right there under her armpit, you see those little round balls right there? Those are lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are there for a purpose. They are your immune system. Their job is, God knew that the fat cells around the breast would be a favorable place to develop cancer. But in order for that cancer to metastasize, it's got to go through the lymph system. The lymph system is going to take it to the lymph nodes. And guess what happened? That's your lymph nodes right there. It's just sitting there on guard, like a soldier, ready. That cancer cell is going to run, it's going to grab it, and it's going to hold it like that. And won't let it go. And it will produce a fluid that would biodegrade and destroy it. But it caused the lymphs to swell big. Your lymph nodes are swollen. Doctors see that and they said, oh, your cancer is metastasized. You got swollen lymph node. And he said, we're going to have to take them lymph nodes out. He take out the seminal gland, which is the main gland that controls the fluid. Your arm swell up like a balloon, and you end up dying from lymphedema. All right? You should never do that. Don't you ever let them cut out those lymph glands. There are ways of taking those lymph glands out without destroying the seminal gland. I'm an herbal surgeon. I've taken out thousands of lymph glands. I've taken tumors out of people's head taking tumors out of people's body bigger than your head. I've done it many times. Okay? And I never cut a person with a knife. I could have took those lymphs out of that sister's body, and I never would have cut her with a knife. And I could have lifted them right out of her system so she would never suffer that lymphedema. And when I hear that, that makes me so upset because they know what's the outcome that's going to be. Yes. Big. It's the chance. I mean, it's unless you really stay on top of it, it can get away from you. But anyway, what those lymphs, when it catch the cancer cell, it will swell. But that's all right. You help it. You apply heat poultices to it, all type of remedies to it, and keep the body healthy so that it can break down those cancer cells and kill the cancer cells, but never cut them out. They also offer you a lymphedema where they'll go in and they will take out the lump out of a woman's breast. And here's where they're going to go in, make an incision, and they're going to remove the lump. And they'll take this lump to pathology to test it to see if it's cancer. But the problem is when they cut that out, they cut blood vessels. The blood vessels going to bleed. And the blood, when the blood come in contact with the cancer cells, it can cause it to metastasize. It can bypass the lymphatic system once they get into the bloodstream. See, that's what the problem is. See, as long as you don't cut, the cancer cells have to go through the lymphatic system.
Isn't that the body encapsulating to protect itself?
Yes, that's right.
Because it's holding in the toxin, basically.
That's right. So if you cut, see, you got the lymphatic fluids and you got the bloodstream. Those are two different systems. The minute you cut, the blood will bypass the lymphatic system and the blood will circulate anywhere in the body, taking the cancer cells with it. But if you never cut, it would have to go through the lymph system. The lymph gland would catch the cancer cell and try to destroy it. If your immune system is strong enough, it will do it. All of us here have had cancer many times and will have it many more times before we leave this earth, because our immune system caught those cancer cells and destroyed it.
My mom had a best friend who had cancer. When they went to do surgery and cut her back open, they had to close her up because it was too much, and they say it spread, and she died.
Yeah. And if she had never went through that process, she would have lived a lot longer. Okay? Okay, if the sick and suffering will do only as well as they know in regard to living out principles of health reform perseverely, then they will, in 9 cases out of 10, recover from their ailments. Now, do you know what that is? If they can, 90% of the sick people that have cancer, if they did what is written in the Bible and Spirit of Prophecy, 90% of them will recover. Do you know how many people recover from chemotherapy out of 100? 3%. 3% out of 100. But if we did what's written in the Bible and Spirit of Prophecy, 90% will recover. If you believe in the writings of Ellen White, and I do. Thousands needless sick. Thousands are sick and dying around us who might get well and live if they would, but their imagination hold them. They believe that every little bump, every little pain, every little itch is the cancer coming back. You can pray with them, you can anoint them, you can convince them that they are free from the cancer, and at night they lay up in the bed and said, I think the cancer's back. That's the devil doing that. They should rebuke that spirit and bear their light affliction. That's what they should do. That's right. But the devil will steal your joy and your victory. And so, and I'll give you one side note. If you're real sick, don't let no family member take care of you. Don't let somebody love you take care of you. Y'all don't believe that, do you? They'll love you to death. Yeah. And they're going to give you that chemo and that radiation. You're going to sleep. And they say, well, now they resting. They ain't suffering no more. And when they die, they with the Lord. They love you to death. You got to get somebody that when you say I'm hurting, you got to say, hey, pray. You got that thorn in the flesh, pray. And work with them. I worked with this girl for 5 years. She had that big tumor growing out her side right there. I want to just cover this little section before I stop. And I can say I might go over this when I have a little more time. This is another case right here. Take a look at this one here, though. This girl here has a tumor. That's not her stomach you're looking at. That is her side. Big tumor sticking out like a big watermelon out of her side. And you see that vein going right down? You can hardly see it. That vein is what we call angiogenesis. That is a blood vessel that's feeding the cancer cells. Your body will grow abnormal blood vessels in order to feed the cancer tumors. You got to stop that. You have to stop it. What we did with this girl here is we put a fig poultice on her, right on the top right there. Right? We see the kind of reddish looking color. And it took the whole top of that tumor off. But what we did, we took the fig and we sprinkled some bloodroot powder on top of it. We put it very warm and laid it on top of that tumor, and it lifted the top of that tumor off. And it started shooting cancerous necrotic fluid out like a fountain. This is the girl right here. Couple of days. Now, you don't hear the sound here, but this girl here, watch this right here. Look what's going to come out of her. That's the same girl. It's deflated a lot now. So all that was coming out of that big tumor till it deflated that tumor. All right? Now we had to give her a lemon to suck because it was making her throw up. She was nauseated because that necrotic fluid now is upchucking to her stomach, coming all the way up, and now she's throwing up. That is called bile, B-I-L-E. Bile is what kills cancer patients. Cancer cells don't kill nobody. The bile will do it. The bile will take your appetite. You don't want to eat. The bile going to make pain worse. That's why we give them coffee enemas. Coffee enema pulls the bile out of the liver and the gallbladder, sends it to the colon and into the toilet so that it don't turn your skin yellow like yellow jaundice. Anytime a person has yellow jaundice, the bile is in the blood. That's going to make pain worse. That's going to make them nauseated, lose their appetite, and they die of malnourishment. So you got to make sure you attack that bile by giving them a liver flush. Now, it is rare for a natural plant, in particular fig, to get the attention from researchers as the fig is doing. The fig is really getting a lot of attention as a complete plant that can fight against cancer. It is really getting a lot of attention now in the research circles. And it's because of a compound found in it called solanine. There's a chemical in figs called solanine is able to stop and destroy the HER2 cancer cells and to wipe out those HER2 receptacles. It is also found in celery and many other vegetables, but it's the highest in figs. It really works good for lymphoma. Now, in order to be able to use the figs, you have to use an ultraviolet light with it. Now, researchers at Duke University have found that UV light activation of solanine also has the ability to kill breast cancer cells that overproduce the protein HER2. About 1/3 of breast tumors are HER2 positive, along with stomach, ovarian, and other types of cancer. HER2 positive breast cancer is considered one of the most aggressive forms of breast cancer because HER2 protein encourages cancer cells to grow unchecked. So they're studying the fig, the solanine in the fig. Solanine is a light-sensitive drug that absorb UV light that acts like ultraviolet radiation. Now, it's not ultraviolet, it acts like radiation. So when they take the fig, you name it with the UV light, it acts like radiation and destroy the cancer cells without the toxic effect of radiation. Solanine are used together with ultraviolet light therapy to treat skin conditions such as vitiligo, eczema, psoriasis, and skin problems, and also lymphoma. That's right. Yeah, it can get that pigment back in it. Now, I broke this down because I knew this was going to be a little complicated, and I try to make it as simple as I can. Solanine is a light-sensitive drug that absorbs UV long waves of light and act like ultraviolet radiation. This little scribbly-looking stuff right here, the yellow and the red, or the yellow, that's solanine. That acts like a light beam. And this little blue right here is the ultraviolet. It acts like ultraviolet radiation. And right here, this here little red scribbler thing is ultraviolet waves. Okay, so now let's look at it. The ultraviolet waves now from the solanine comes and mixed with the solanine as the ultraviolet waves from the UV light mixed with the solanine. Let's see what's going to happen. Then it's converted to a natural form of radiation, and that kills the cancer cells. And that's all produced by the figs. Let's look at it again. We're looking at solanine are used together with ultraviolet light. The solanine is made from the figs. The UV light activates the solanine to produce a natural form of radiation that kills the HER2 cancer cells. Solanine activated with the UV light can block all HER2 cells and eventually lead to the death of those cells. Okay? By blocking the HER2 cells, eventually leading to the death of those cells. The most promising drug for HER2 positive cancer can block the function of the HER2 on the surface of the cells. They have one drug that is quite effective in stopping cancer on the surface, a HER2 on the surface. Don't get excited about that, because what doctors are going to tell you, well, this drug here can stop the HER2. It can, but he's not telling you the whole story. It can only stop it on the surface of the cells, not deep inside of the body of the cells. It will kill it on the surface.
What is it, proselyne you said?
Solanine.
Solomon. The Solomon actually kills not only the surface, but it goes beneath the surface.
That's right.
Because it's radiated by the ultraviolet light, because the Solomon absorbs ultraviolet light
Right.
and radiates into the tissue.
Right. See, heparin will kill it on the surface. They mix it with a chemo drug. It would kill it on the surface, but it will not penetrate deep inside. Even when it kills it on the surface, look what happened. Let me go to the next one. The most promising drug for HER2 positive cancer can block the function of the HER2 on the surface of the cells. Okay, so it can do it on the surface, but over time, right here it said, over time the tumor can become resistant to these drugs and get a regrowth. So that's when you take this heparin and the chemo in it, and doctors say, hey, the cancer is gone. You say, wow, God has blessed this man to heal me. 6 months later, it's back, and it's more aggressive. You've heard those stories happening. It had a regrowth because your body, those cells are smart. They will figure out how to get around it and defeat that drug. They're going to try to, they're going to do it. And it'll have a regrowth back. And that regrowth is more dangerous than the first one.
I have a question about molasses and baking soda. You heard about it, right?
I have.
What's your take on it?
It's a good product. I use some of it myself. Well, the baking soda changed the pH. That's basically what it does. It changed the pH. But in order for it to do that, the iron component in the blackstrap molasses actually make the baking soda work better. It helps change the pH of the cells to more alkaline, because of the iron helps the hemoglobin process of the red blood cells. It's a good product, but it can be overused. It can be overused. The baking soda, if it have aluminum, then it can cause some mental disarrangement, because aluminum can also cause Alzheimer's. And we are counseled not to use baking soda because of that, the aluminum component. If you can get aluminum-free baking soda, that's fine, but you can misuse that. If you use too much baking soda, you can change the pH too drastically, and it can cause cancer. Your body must stay at a balance. It must stay between 80 to 20 or 80 to 25%. So it needs to be more alkaline, but you have to have some acidity. That's why when you get these water machines, the alkaline machines, these manufacturers said drink some of the acid water occasionally, because they know that you cannot function on pure alkalinity. Because alkalinity will cause cancer just like acidity will when it's out of balance. So the most promising drug, HER2-positive cancer, can block the function of the HER2 on the surface, but it cannot penetrate deep in. Figs can do that. Solanine and ultraviolet is a light, are used to kill pathogens in the blood and produce, and blood produce, and as a treatment, it can stop the proliferation of cancer cells. It can stop the regrowth of cancer cells. That solanine in the fig can do that. That's what can make it so good for lymphoma and many other things. Now let me show you here what we're talking about. This is the ultraviolet lights. And you have to wear special shades when you try this. This one is a very expensive one that you're looking at right here. But you can construct that, or you can purchase one where you can treat the whole body. But this is one that I like to use, a little handheld one. They're not expensive at all. And you can apply a fig plaster over an area like the breast, in a part of your body, and you can shine a UV light over the top of it. And that can stop the HER2 receptacles that are producing cancer. Also, we make I'm just going to speed up to this because I'm going to get ready to stop. We make a bowel cleanser out of figs, especially we got cancer in the gastrointestinal tract. And here's the bowel cleanser. We use psyllium, we use slipper elm, we use moringa, we use alfalfa, we use senna, we use chia seed, hemp seed, aloe vera, and we use probiotics. We use the strongest probiotics you can get, 800 billion live bacteria. We use apopectin fiber, agar-agar, in the mix. And this is a very good bowel cleanser that will bring it directly to the source of the cancer, and it can stop the cancer in the gastrointestinal tract. Now, we also make an herbal chemo. We make our own type of herbal chemo, and I'm going to go over that with you here with the herbal chemo. This is the herbal chemo. This is the one that really do a fantastic job that I put my patients on that have HER2. I take DMSO, I take water, I take peppermint. Peppermint is the extract from black pepper that helps the body absorb minerals and vitamins. I use vitamin B3. Vitamin B3 is a capillary dilator. Have you ever heard of niacin? Yeah. You take it and make your skin get hot and make it feel like you're having hot flashes, all right? Especially if you take too much of it. But it's healthy, though. So it actually is a capillary dilator. So really, this is what it is. Your arteries do this here. let's see, like that. You know, but if you take niacin, it do this. Okay? Instead of this. Niacin make it do that. That means you shoot fresh blood through, full of oxygen. That's what turns your skin red and make you feel hot. So if you take niacin, within 1 minute, it will circulate all around your body. Cayenne pepper do the same thing. You take cayenne pepper, you can feel it traveling through your whole system. Also, we use fig. We use 1 pound of figs, elderberry, blackstrap molasses, vitamin C, cayenne pepper, ginger, and we use a little alcohol to preserve it to keep from going bad. You drink 2 ounces of that 3 times a day. This will stop the HER2 positive breast cancer in the body. I advise a person, if they have HER2, they want this formula right here because it's fantastic. Pardon?
I want you to go back to the other slide.
Go back, okay.
Some people want you to go back.
But you can have this here PowerPoint presentation. You just give me a USB, and I give it to Elder Walker back there. You give it to him, because I can't do everybody, but anything I have, you can have it, because it's not mine anyway. Okay? I'm not selling it. I'm not selling it, because I like how that man pay me, you know what I mean? Y'all can't pay me like he can pay me. So it'd be all right. But anyway, this is a good formula here. And I tell you, the brother that was telling me about his sister, this is the one I would put on. I would put on this here formula here, because this would help a lot. I don't know what type she have. You know, it could be, who knows? I mean, I would need to know, design a program for that particular type. Okay, we just about finished. But that type of herbal chemo is good for melanoma, breast cancer, stomach cancer, brain cancer. And boy, I tell you, when you start talking about brain cancer, I work with more brain cancer than breast cancer in the last 2 or 3 years. And it used to be #1 breast cancer, prostate cancer, and then #3 brain cancer. But now brain cancer is taking over. It is accelerating. It is. That's where it's coming from. So I'm going to stop there. I think we went over enough. No, do some investigation into the fig. Fig is a fantastic, and here's some other things that the Solomon found in. Most of your spices and herbs have it. Caraway, coriander, fennel, mustard, deer, they all have it in there. But figs and dates have the highest source. Dates have a lot of it too. But dates are high in estrogen. It's very high in estrogen. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Any questions, final questions here before we stop? Yes. You know, I have an article in here where that they was letting people eat 1/3 of a pound of figs a day, and it really was helping a lot, preventing a lot of cancer. Just eating the figs was actually getting good results. So if you can't do nothing else, let them really eat figs for a meal. And don't worry about the sugar content. And you know, that's what people are going to say, well, sugar is going to cause cancer. That is a complex sugar. It will not cause cancer at all. Yes.
I have a question. I have a friend. Her skin is yellow,
Yeah.
but the doctor doesn't say it have anything to do with her liver or anything like that. But she cannot, her palm of her hands, her feet, her foot bottom, always yellow.
Is her eyes yellow?
No, it's just her hands
Is
and
this,
her foot.
is her urine yellow?
No,
Well, then you need, it don't sound like she do have yellow jaundice. Now, you need to know what she's eating. They're changing her pigmentation of her skin. You drink a lot of carrot juice? No, not regular. It's something she's doing, because if she had yellow jaundice, her eyes would be yellow, her urine would be yellow, her skin would itch real bad. So it may not be. It may be something that's changing the color of her pigmentation. So that's where you need to do a little assessment, investigating. Doctor's probably right on that, because he would know. I mean, he would know if his bowel that's doing that.
The fig, does it matter if you use them dry or fresh?
Well, I mean, no, I mean, quite natural, fresh figs is the way to go, but the dry ones will work too.
And that little UV light handheld that I saw, is that something you can get?
You can Google those little
what
UV
is the
lights.
name? I know it's a
Ultraviolet
UV
lights.
Portable.
Yeah,
Oh,
portable UV lights.
Thank you.
But just remember, you have to wear special glasses because they can mess your eyes up. That's right. Yes.
And about the soy, how much like the soy you can take in like for a month?
You mean a healthy person?
Yeah.
Maybe once or twice a week.
Like
I've said no more than twice a week.
like eating tofu and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's a man and he wanted to help prevent prostate cancer, he can eat it more than that, because he may need it to help his prostate gland. He may could take it 3 or 4 times a week if he's trying to reduce his PSA and shrink his prostate, because the estrogen, the phytoestrogen in the soy will block the bad testosterone. Doctors do a thing they call hormone therapy. You know what that is? They give a man female hormones. Well, you can do that by giving some plant-based foods that would do the same thing. Soy is a female natural estrogen. And so you want to block that bad testosterone. Now, there are there's several different types of testosterone. You ever heard of dihydrotestosterone? That word di means two, and testosterone means hormone. When a man has prostate problem, he have a problem with too high testosterone. Now this is really going to confuse you. You take a young man, 18 years old, he go to a urologist, he check him, he said, boy, your testosterone is off the chart. Go out there and have you plenty of babies and just enjoy your life. That's pretty much what he'll tell him, because he don't know the Lord. But now, old man come in now, he checked, he said, man, your testosterone is too high. You probably got prostate cancer. Why didn't he tell that young boy that? His was high too. What was the difference? No, it wasn't age. It had nothing to do with age. No. See, he think you're so ignorant that you don't know that there are different types of testosterone. Dihydrotestosterone is where estrogen and testosterone mix together. That's where the man, as he get out of shape, he let his body get out of shape, his estrogen started rising. Instead of 1%, it's 3% or 4%. It mixed with the testosterone, creating another hormone called dihydrotestosterone. And so it's no longer testosterone. It's a female hormone that have united with the male hormone. And that makes the prostate gland grow, as estrogen make a baby grow. So they both have high testosterone, but the boy have free testosterone, the man has dihydrotestosterone. They call them both testosterone, but they're not. That's the big difference. So, but he'll give you a female hormone drug that will block your estrogen in your body, and then, you say, okay, then it works. But he's altering your hormones. And What was that, Nubra? I say it on the mic right there.
The PSA in the
Yes.
prostate, that can cause it to rise, right?
Yes.
You know they go by the numbers, so
I
that
do.
can cause it to rise.
Right, and the PSA is a false reading. It's just an indicator. The medical people know that. It's just an indicator. It's not proof positive, but it's a good indicator that your dihydrotestosterone is too high. So you need to get your PSA test, but don't accept that as proof positive, because you can have a low PSA and still have prostate cancer, and you can have a high PSA and definitely have prostate cancer. The only way they can really determine had to do a Gleason score, which is a biopsy, where they take a specimen of it and they put it under the microscope. That's pretty much the only way they can determine that.
So the young boy had high testosterone,
He did.
and basically what you're bringing out is that the older man, when he came in, he told him his testosterone was too high. It was because he had a different type of testosterone.
Right.
Testosterone. He had dihydrotestosterone.
That's right.
Okay, that was the difference in the two.
That's right. But he's not going to tell you about it. Doctor's
The
not
doctor not
going
gonna tell you that.
He don't say you use dihydrotest because he think you scientifically stupid.
Right.
He said just your testosterone too high. Well, they both testosterone, but one of them is an abnormal testosterone.
So dihydrotestosterone is
Right.
an abnormal testosterone.
It's kind of like a man. When a man have a high level of dihydrotestosterone, his hair fall off in the top of his head. He get bald headed because his hair, the hair follicles are sensitive to the female hormone, and it takes his hair out on top. He's bald on top of his head. And the doctor, they always say, well, hey, you bald on top of your head, your testosterone is real
So
high.
that's why all the brothers shaving their head.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is.
They don't know. They think it's his age, but they don't
No.
realize. They don't realize the chemical breakdown.
It is. The hair follicles are sensitive to it.
So
And
if
if
you can
a wo-
reverse that, their hair will grow back. Then.
It will. And a woman, if she grow hair on her face, it's because of dihydrotestosterone too high in her. She developed what we call polycystic ovaries. Instead of having 2 ovaries, she has a cluster of ovaries, like a cluster of grapes. That's producing too much estrogen, which converts some to testosterone. And she'll grow facial hair. And that's polycystic ovaries. And you can reverse all of that. God has given us plants with natural plant-based hormone components to do it. What I study allopathic medicine, how to use natural things to replace allopathic drugs. That's how I do it. I study all the medical journals, all the research, and then I study how I can use natural things to accomplish what they're trying to do with allopathic medicine. Okay, I want to thank y'all so much for the opportunity, and we'll look forward to getting back with y'all soon.
Amen, brethren. Come to us. Amen. And I'm just going to encourage the brethren to invite a friend to come and get all these information. Let us not keep it to ourselves.
There was a little confusion with the start time. Could you just announce the start time per night?
Or the
please?
starting time?
Yeah, and the different nights. we're
Yes,
gonna meet.
we'll start at 7 o'clock each night. Amen. I mean, you got to come out early though, so we can have a little song service. The nights will be Sunday through Wednesday. Thursday night we'll take off. Yes, all day tomorrow, all day tomorrow, and next Sabbath, and next Friday evening. Amen. So let us make the best of it, and we really do hope that Elder Wilson can give us another week early. I don't know when he has a very busy schedule, as he told us, brethren. But let us make it possible. Pastor, we're going to ask you to do the closing prayer for us. And see you all tomorrow morning. Please come out early. Amen.
All right, I just want to say, for those of you who've been coming, those of you who are regular attending first, the books tomorrow morning, be here to get your Godhead book. Now, some of you got it already. You do not get an extra copy. I'm sorry. I got to be sure. If you got one, don't be telling me, Pastor, I need this for somebody. No. It's only because we got them for the members that attend first. And if we have one, you gave you one last time. Yeah, you have one. I gave you one that day. You came in. Yeah. Because I said, but heart, this is for you. And I handed it to you. You must have forgot. Or you gave it away, or you left it. But anyway, you check your house when you go home. And if you don't, but then because this situation about no Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit not being the Spirit of God and all this, this is settled in this book through the chronology of how she wrote. All right, it's very important. So everybody will get one tomorrow, and then for those who are visiting, if we have some extras, we might be able to get some out. But right now, all the members who have one. All right, the one I got in my hand right now is for Elder Wilson.